dying by the gun. It's been a long road, coming from the bottom. What you don't know won't hurt you. That's a lie. I'm off that long road, still up in the bottom.
Yo, what's up, everybody? New Never You here today, and today I want to talk about family, the entirety of family. I think I made a video way back in the day about family, but today I want to make a updated kind of continuation version of that video that I made so long ago. So me and my cousins, we just did this big cousins I guess get together, and we all got together. I don't think we've been together like that in years. I think our grandparents were still alive whenever that happened the last time. But I wanted to touch on some things, and it's going to be a little personal, but it's not going to be too personal to the point where I'm destroying the fabric of my family or myself. But I noticed that there's a lot of individuality in my family. And I hope I said individuality right. But we're all different, man. We all have different career goals and ambitions. I don't think any of us have the same jobs. I know there's potential doctors. I think there's a lawyer, accountant, filmmaker, musician, and the list goes on. But within that, I think we all have our own individual pains, and I think that's one of the things that needs to be addressed. I know for a fact that my family in general doesn't like to talk about certain things past a certain point, and even with that, past certain people. And family is supposed to be the group of people that you can sit down and just tell how you're doing, how you're feeling, how X, Y, and Z is making you feel, how the fabric of everything is making you feel, and how you feel about the world as a whole. Unfortunately, there's aspects in my family that kind of prevent us from doing that. The easiest way to put it is there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of tension in my family that prevents us from being as close as we should be. And like I said, I'm not here to bust anybody out, put anybody's business out on the internet or anything like that. But I do want to say that there's certain things that we need to come together and fix. And making this video, I feel like there's other people that can see this, and it'll help them mend relationships within their family as well. And I'm all about fixing things. I'm all about making the road easier for other people, even at the detriment of myself. So I noticed at our cousins get together that there's a lot of pain in all of us. There's a lot of things that we're all dealing with, that we're all trying to figure out how to cope with, how to get through, how to manage. And because of how we were raised and who we were raised by, we're all strong individuals in our own right. And I've talked to a lot of my cousins and a lot of my aunts and uncles about personal matters between myself and between them. And I know it's not an easy road to see some of the stuff that happens to us, but it's an even more difficult road to see things and nobody say anything or do anything about it. Now, granted, I'm sure somebody says something, but we grew up in a very God-centered family. Our grandfather was a pastor. Our grandmother was a very, very godly woman. Now, of course, they made their mistakes, and they did some things that, they shouldn't have done, but, we're human. We've all done that. But they showed us, in my opinion, the roadmap to what a family is supposed to be. Every Sunday, we would all get together, well, everybody that was in town, and we'd either get Chinese food, Sonic, KFC, Burger King. You know, we get something, or somebody would cook. We'd just eat every Sunday, just get together. Me and my cousins would play outside. The adults would be in the house playing stuff like Parcheesi, Sorry, cards, chess, Monopoly, you know, just getting together. And then there was one point where we were doing weekly Bible studies, I think on Wednesdays. And then, of course, I think my grandfather died first. And then shortly after that, my grandmother died. And that's kind of when everything kind of goes downhill. Since then, our Uncle Rev has died, and our Aunt Greta has died. And the fabric just hasn't been the same. And there's a lot of things between people within my family that they haven't resolved. There's a lot of hurt feelings. There's a lot of you should have did this, you shouldn't have did that, you crossed the line. And I understand when people cross the line. I understand when people do things that I would deem unforgivable. And I understand that when you're hurt to a certain point, it's very difficult to forgive people, even if they are your family. And so I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm not here to say one party's wrong, one party's right. I'm just here to say that we got to get back to where we used to be. We don't have to always get together on Sundays. We don't have to always get together for a Bible study. But I mean, life is short, and it's progressively getting worse in the world. So we have to at least be together a little bit, hash out the issues that we have with each other. And if it needs to be in a controlled environment, that's fine. But there's no issue on this planet that should rip you away from family members. If you have a problem with somebody, you should be able to go to that person or persons and have a discussion about it without wanting to fight and argue. Now, granted, that's possible, a possible outcome because of who we are and who we were raised by. But in general, the genuine love we used to have for each other is kind of dwindled away and it's kind of died. And a lot of it is generational. Like there's, unfortunately, a lot of my aunts and uncles have that older worldview where if it's against how God feels, then I'm just not going to be involved with it, which is understandable. But at the same time, like if you don't understand why somebody's doing it, like doing drugs or being promiscuous or heavily drinking, then it's kind of hard for you to help that person or people. Because if you don't know the core of the issue, you can't really fix it. Because you can pray, sure enough, but what exactly are you praying for? If you're praying that I get well soon, maybe my body's sick and I'm just dealing with something else. Essentially, you're praying for my body to be healed, but you're not praying for my issues because you don't know what my issues are. And you can say, God, just be with New Never You and his the things that he's struggling with. But aren't you like a physical representation? Aren't you the temple? Aren't you the church? Shouldn't you be able to come to me and say, hey, you don't seem to be the same New Never You that you were. What's going on? And that was a point in my life where I didn't talk to anybody in my family for like 2 to 3 years. I didn't show up to any events. I didn't go to any graduations. I just vanished for 2 to 3 years. And a large part of that was because I just wanted to see how many people were going to try to find me. then reach out and have a conversation and talk. And the truth of the matter is, not a lot of people did. And I understand people have their own problems or have their own issues, and I'm not disregarding that. But that's a prime example of what did your prayers do? You didn't reach out. You didn't say anything. And then when I see you, it's like nothing ever happened. Like I wasn't gone for 2 to 3 years. And that's sad. It shouldn't be like that. We should be here for each other. We should lift each other up. And granted, just because we're family doesn't mean that we're entitled to do any of the things that I've said previously. But it should be easier for us to do it versus somebody else to do it, because we know each other. We know the faults. We know the lows. We should know the highs. We know all this stuff. And all the stuff that we try to keep hidden away from each other eventually comes out, and then it just makes things worse because that's just how secrets work. Now, I have a great affinity for my family. I love my family, but I'll be the first to say that we aren't perfect by any stretch of the means, and we aren't even close to being good to each other. We have a lot of work to do, and it's not impossible. We can fix and do anything we want to do. We are a ridiculously strong family. We have come through some of the worst circumstances that I've personally seen in my life through people. And we made it to the other side. Some of us are still going through those things, but I don't think that we should give up on each other as easy as we have in the past. And I think if we are going to pray for each other, then we need to talk to each other and see the root of the problems and not just try to skate over the issues, because we can't expect to be better people out there if we're not good people within where we come from. And there's a lot of things that, it's going to take time to get through. But I know for a fact that if we push forward, that we will accomplish anything that we want to do. And I feel like that's for anybody else's family out there, because family is very important. And you only get essentially one family that you share a bloodline with. And once it's wiped out, it's wiped out. So I don't want us to be wiped out. And if we are wiped out, I want us to go out knowing that we did our best to fix everything, at least as much as we could, the strife between us. So I hope that we can do that. I hope that we can start to come together as a family, as a whole family, like we used to be. As far as togetherness, I know it's not going to be the way it used to be, but as best as we can make it, I think we should try. And for anybody that sees this video that's not related to me, I just implore you to do the same thing with your family, because you only got one. It's just new, never you. And if you did new, now you do.
Working on a masterpiece, searching for a peace of mind. Work so hard they laugh at me, but worrying about them is a waste of time. I be who I gotta be. People switch up bedtime, trying to throw me off, but I keep my eyes on the prize.